takes an axe sometimes, a feather in the sunshine and bad weather. It's a matter of getting deeper in.
Hi, I'm Jeannie Balloon. Welcome to Jeannie on the Beat, Talking with the Talent, Ann Arbor's hottest talk variety show, where I'll bring you up close and personal with fabulous writers, performers, and other fascinating folks. My guests tonight are psychics and spirit mediums Ray Fraser and his son Jacob Elliott. Ray has been a practicing spirit medium for 37 years, as well as being an author, lecturer, and teacher. He currently owns a metaphysical center in Westland called Mystiques West. Jacob Elliott is a multi-talented high school senior who is a gifted musician, actor, and magician. Welcome, Ray and Jacob.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. Yeah.
Good to be here.
Yes, it's very exciting to have you here. So, Ray, I would love to hear your story. How did you first discover you had these gifts, and what has been your path to developing them?
Well, actually the first experience I had was about 4 years old, and most of my teenage and early adult life, people thought I was weird because I was able to perceive things that were coming about or see spirits and things like that. Then when I was 30, I went through a very brief period, about 60 days, where I was involved in a haunted house which really had some spirits in it. I got invited to an ESP seminar that I participated in. I had spirit contact, and from that point on, my life's changed forever.
So, 4 years old, what was that first experience like?
It's pretty terrifying.
Was it?
Because I didn't understand. It was the first reaction was of recognizing something that my brothers couldn't see because they were there as well. And then when they got scared, then I got scared. So it was just one of those things where I didn't have the capacity to understand what was actually going on.
And you didn't have anybody around you who could really help you.
No, I was in a
understand
Christian home, and of course, you know, unless you were seeing angels, and this wasn't an angel, it had to be something that they thought was negative.
So it sounds like your particular gift, you are able to see spirits.
Actually,
is that right?
there's about 20 different phases of mediumship that everybody is born with it. You have to find out which phase is best for you, but I have clairvoyance, which is seeing pictures or images, clairaudience, hearing spirit, clairsentience, which is feeling it. Ladies call it a women's intuition, guys call it gut feeling. Also psychometry, holding an object, clairgnostic, smelling. It's just,
So quite a few.
They actually, as you develop, your senses will be increased, and you'll be able to adapt more phases into your repertoire, so to speak.
So does it work that if you start to really, you're just opening in general, and then different senses get activated as you open? Is that how it works? Okay. So it's not like you do one at a time. Okay, today I'm going to practice just this one thing. Maybe you do try to do that, and then other things happen too. Jacob, go ahead.
Well, it's at the Spirit's behest how we receive their messages. So.
Oh, so certain spirits may communicate with you in certain ways.
Yes.
Some come through auditorially, some visually.
Correct, exactly.
So it's
And
not just about what you.
Correct,
Yes.
and it's kind of like learning a new language. A lot of spirits work in symbolism. They'll show you things that relate to some aspect of your life, and then it's like learning a new language. You have to interpret what they're saying, and it takes a while to develop. But sometimes, yes, in the early stages of your development, if you're wanting to be clairvoyant, there's certain practices that you can do to develop your clairvoyance. Clairaudience, the same. Clairsentience is more of a spontaneous thing where you're driving down the street and you know there's a cop around the corner, you turn the corner and there he is.
Yeah, right.
You know, that's a lot of thoughts about the intelligence of your heart, because most women's intuition and guys' gut feeling takes place in the heart chakra.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. So Jacob, how about you? What was your first experience? How did you come to know that you had this as well?
Well, I've been seeing spirits almost all my life in some form or another.
So visually seeing things too as well.
And there's different ways that spirits can take form. too. And when I was 8, I saw my first full apparition.
Wow.
And my grandfather had just died, and I said I knew that it was him, and that he was there to help me realize what the change called death is. You know.
So you had a very friendly, recognizable loved one who came to you.
Yes.
Okay, that probably helped.
Yes.
I would think.
But in the beginning, it wasn't always friendly, and
Really?
people need to know how to shield themselves from.
So just because you were open, and so whoever is going to show up, and you
Yeah.
don't always
Right.
get to
Yeah.
choose who
Yeah.
you get to.
Unfortunately, younger kids play with Ouija boards and things like that.
Yeah.
Those are very dangerous things. There's a certain, Jacob is also a crystal child, which means very highly developed, and they develop their senses in different things. Many crystal children find spirit contact when they're in the shower or taking a bath because of the conductivity of the water.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh?
And
Or
he
swimming?
experienced that early on.
Oh, and you had that experience?
Yes, yes.
Really?
Yes.
Do you recall any particular one?
It's just, at the time, I didn't know how to shield myself
Yeah.
from spirits I didn't want to have come in. And
Yeah.
the water is a conductor of the energy they use to communicate with us. So
That is really
Yes.
interesting. So that would be a little freaky if
Yes.
you're taking a bath
yeah.
and suddenly some stranger shows up and you're a kid and you don't know like who this is and what they're doing there.
Even if you're an adult.
Even if you're an adult, I'd be pretty
Yeah.
freaked out if that happened to me. So how do you prevent, how do you select or let in who you want to let in and keep out who you don't want?
Well, you have the ability to, spirit mediumship is an interactive communication. Everyone has 4 or 5 spirit guides that are with them all the time. And you set up a daily conversation. They'll be your very best friends forever. And they know you and they know your personality. And of course, you say, I don't want to deal with any people like this. And so they set up a shield of light around you so that the negative energies don't come in. And when we do seance, we always say an affirmation and ask that only spirits of truth or spirits of light be allowed into the seance room. And it works very well.
So they're your protectors.
Correct.
Yes.
Oh, that's fascinating. Okay, great. So I know that a lot of religious people sometimes get concerned about the work that you do, that it might be ungodly. How do you respond to that?
Well, unfortunately, without being negative, they're undereducated. Most people, unfortunately, when they go to church, they're told to read a specific verse in the Bible, and they read the verse, and it supports what the sermon is for that day. But you've got to read the Bible in a whole storyline. Each book of the Bible is a specific story, and as an author, if someone took one of my books and read a paragraph out of one of the books and tried to base a whole philosophy on that, it wouldn't work. And that's basically what's happening. What I suggest to people is that they read the whole Bible, and you'll find out what God's intent is. In the New Testament, Paul talks in very great deal about spirit contact and spirit communion. And so it's a matter of education. Once a person realizes that the Bible is very supportive of spirit contact, Jesus talks about it many times, then that fear goes away. And certainly we're not going to be able to allow everyone to have that understanding. Jesus said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. It's just something that we have to be receptive of them as perfect spirit entities and try and teach them so that they have the understanding. So whether they like it or not, they can at least accept us for being what we are. Jay's
Thank
had
you.
some pretty uncomfortable experiences, unfortunately.
I would love to hear more about that after we interact with our studio audience.
Great.
We have a very special thing tonight we're really excited about. Jacob and Ray have agreed to do a reading for our studio audience. So we're gonna do that right now, okay?
Great.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Hi, Ray. My brother passed about 5 years ago, and it was under questionable circumstance. I was wondering if there was any foul play involved.
That's a good question. The real thing which I think he's trying to impress here, because I get the feeling of almost as though frustration, oh, not this again. If you are asking if there was an intentional or deliberate kind of foul play, I'd say absolutely not. I do believe that there were some things which were mistakes that were involved, that, certainly he was in a place where either people were distracted, not paying attention, or whatever. However, there seems to be, and I don't know if this could be a mom or someone else, but there's a lady that's with him also that comes through and brings, good greetings. April, a month for the lady, that seems to be very important. But I would believe that with regard to your brother, nothing that you could prosecute as a criminal offense or anything like that. Just circumstances that wrong place, wrong time kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Anything to add, son? No. Okay. So that's what I think with that.
Hi. I was just curious if there's anybody on the other side that has a message for me.
Well, there's two people here. The one is a gentleman who's very tall, and I'm 6'1", and I would consider him to be taller than myself. He might be 6'3" or so. He has brown hair, as he's showing to me, which usually is an indication that somebody passed away, what I would consider prematurely. Old age being, 75, 80 years old. This person could be in the 50s or 60s. But I don't feel that this is like a grandparent. It could be an uncle or a great uncle. And with him is a lady who is smaller in stature, with what I would consider to be very tightly curled hair, which is an indication that maybe the end of her life was somewhere in the 20s or 30s while she was here. I'm given the name of Fred or Frederick that goes with the gentleman. I'm not positive that it could be if his last name was Fredericks, that would also work. But they said the word Fred, so I'm perceiving that that's a first name rather than a last name. You also have a number of spirit guides that are there waiting to work with you. There's a guide here by the name of Ellen, a very fair-haired young lady who is very brilliant. I don't know if you're into computers or computer technology, but she certainly seems to be kind of waiting for an invitation. That was the word she actually used, from you to take part and help you develop. Because I feel like you're in a stage here within the next 1.5 to 2 years where your whole destiny, your pursuit, career, everything is going to be changing dramatically for the better. And of course, little pre-preparation or things seems to be important as far as that goes. And she's waiting for the call. There's other guys that are willing to work with you as well, but they're not making their presence known, as though she would be your primary guide.
Thank you.
Do you have something to add?
Yes. I got an older woman, and seems like it's a grandmother type feeling, and she's pointing to her rosy cheeks, and she's saying Anna is the name.
Okay.
Hi, I'm wondering if you could connect with my mother or my father, and if they have any advice for me for my life right now.
Okay, one of the, I'm seeing a couple, which I presume is mom and dad, but there's also other people with them. I'm seeing a young man, a young boy, okay, which sometimes is an indication of somebody that has had a miscarriage or passed on. They're showing you, but this is a person that was not born into the physical presence, was either stillborn or miscarried in some way. But it's almost as though father, mother, boy. And so the question I would leave with you is it possible that mom had a miscarriage, or that perhaps you had a miscarriage, or something along the line where they would be looking after this spirit entity? The message that I get from them that seems to have to do with your future seems around living arrangements or housing. And for whatever reason, as I get into 2012, that energy becomes more and more intense, as though there's going to be something that they're going to be trying to lead you to do with where you live or the home that you live in, that's going to put you in a place. The whole world is in perfect synchronicity, and you have to be in the right place sometimes to fulfill the next step of your destiny. And if you don't get the message intuitively from them, they'll they'll make it a little more visible, let's just say. But it's something that's going to have to do with your housing next year, probably after the snow leaves, and say in April, where this is going to become very intense, and you're going to be doing some very strong contemplation once a change is affected. And it could be something, complete remodeling. I'm thinking more of a move. But it just seems like this is going to be a time where you're going to be in the right place at the right time, and people that are going to be around you at that time, a change in your social circle, they're showing are going to be very, very important to the next step in your growth and development. And I mean, if I had the same energy for myself, I'd be very optimistic.
Thank you very much.
Hi. I've been having a rocky road for the past 2-3 years regarding family, relationships, and jobs. Though stable, I'm just wondering, is it going to get better?
Well, I would say, as you ask that question, I think you've already perceived the answer. I think things are getting better. When I look long range, it's almost as though you're just throwing off layers of clothing, the clothing being the negative energy that you have to face. And, certainly even the end of September is going to bring forth a new opportunity. It's as though you're completing a cycle of some kind. Could be a class, could be something that you're doing that's going to come to an end within the next few days. And that's going to start a new beginning. I don't think that any of the events that have occurred from what they're showing me is anything more than a test for us. We all come into this world with an agenda things we hope to accomplish, et cetera, et cetera. I would believe, without any question at all, that many of the things that are happening are being given to you by your spirit guides so that you awaken and unfold the spiritual energy around you. I've got a grandmother's vibration here who is very, very intuitive. She could look at you and you would know she was looking right into your soul. She would, just if you caught her eye to eye, there was no way you could lie to her. You would confess things that you did a long time ago that she never even asked about, because she just had this strong intuition. You have a same, maybe not to the degree yet because it isn't developed, but that same insight that she had. And so I believe that a lot of the challenges that you're facing right now are kind of wake-up calls, things which are going to make you understand and turn towards more of a spiritual insight. And it's a philosophy on how the world operates and your purpose within it. And I think that's certainly going to happen. Even here, we got October, November, December. I'm going to say before the end of the year, your whole outlook is going to be transformed from what it was in January of this year to what it's going to be in January of 2012.
Right.
Jacob's got something.
I have a uncle vibration, but it seems like it's not necessarily an uncle, a blood uncle, but somebody who you did things with, and he's saying the name Dan.
So he maybe married one of the blood family members. Okay, cool.
Yes, I'd just like to hear from anyone in spirit who's with me right now. Okay,
now, the first energy that I got and seemed to push his way around, I don't know if your father's in spirit or it's a grandfather. If your father's not in spirit, then your father and your grandfather look like twins. I think it feels more like a father's energy. But I also get, when I talk about Dad's energy, a significant feeling of unfinished business, as though there were plans that were made between you and he that never came to fruition, such as come June we're going to go there or we're going to do this. And it was something that both of you would have anticipated doing a very great deal, and it never happened. And I would believe that, he also said the word untimely, which means that probably the transition was unexpected. Sometimes people are, just plunking along, doing well, feeling good and everything like that, and then pow, it just comes in the night, and it's when your time is up. It's
My father died suddenly and violently 20 years ago, and I wanted to see how he's doing
Okay.
and whether he has any message for my grandson who's just 4 years old.
okay. Now, very interestingly, as you talked about, does your grandson share your father's name?
It's actually her son.
Her son? Your son share your father's name? First name or middle name? No? Okay. I got the same name, so I'll just say that. First of all, the spirit world is like the Disneyland of your dreams. You get to be anything you want to be. It's a happy place. All the negatives that exist in this world don't exist there. So once that separation is made between the physical and the spiritual, it's paradise. And he's doing wonderfully. The only thing I would say is I believe that your son is a very hands-on, kind of a craft-oriented construction, development, creative type personality, and I think that's something that was probably passed through the genes, because I sense your father had the same energy, but certainly you want to allow that and encourage that from him. Very creative type of a consciousness, and creativity comes in music, art, anything you do with your hands, writing. Those are all creative expressions, and that's what you're going to see probably the biggest part before he even reaches preteens. You think so? Okay.
Okay.
My friend Grace died about 20 years ago, and I just wonder if she has any message for me. She died suddenly.
Oh, this is, it's interesting you talk about her being a friend. I think she's a much closer friend than what you might have perceived, because I still think that she walks with you. You guys made a vow to be like one of the best friends for life. I don't know.
Is that right? You did?
And she's not been away from you at all. So she said, I said it and I meant it. But they're showing like Hawaiian leis around your necks, and I don't know if that was something you did when you were playing, or if you always had plans to go to Hawaii together. But they're showing those around, and she just is just full of, bright energy. That she was at the time of her transition, her energy was very dark and sullen, being sorrowful. But once there were people waiting for her when she went through the light, and so, that changed it around, and she came back to the same almost sprite-like personality of just enjoying everything that's going on. She does seem to be a person who likes working with children. I don't know if she wanted to have a lot of children or whatever, but there seem to be kids all around her, everything that she's doing. So all you have to do is mention her name, and she'll be right there by your side, for sure.
Hello, I'm wondering if my late husband has a message for me, and particularly if here another in spirit would speak to my situation with Right Livelihood and my home situation.
Okay. One of the things which I would say about your husband is, there's been some events that have happened since his passing that I believe he was trying to guide you. And for some reason, I don't necessarily feel that you got the message clearly. He's also a person who, lifetime commitment. I mean, I'll love you till one of us dies, and what he really meant is I'll love you till I see you again. And so that's a very close energy around you. I would say that with his energy, I would believe that he would encourage you to continue on with life, recognizing from the spirit world that, this is a time which we have to enjoy. And what I mean by that is, I don't know what your relationship status is right now, but he would encourage and be happy if you live the rest of your life in contentment with someone else, simply because he understands he can't be here to do it. There does seem to be a suggestion on his part for you actualizing yourself. I think he was a strong supporter of you doing and being everything you wanted to be. And so with that, I'm kind of given to saying that if you chose to go back to school, it would be something that I believe he's trying to incline that you should do. And secondly, that he would support you. I would believe that, the things which you're going to do in the next 2 years should be, primarily for yourself, because you've given a lot of time and energy to other people, and now things seem to be settling down where he's working with you, but that seems to be something where you're going to feel more of his presence. Particular, and I don't know if you have an anniversary that's close. I'm feeling a date that's pretty close, maybe like, actually, close is not the right word, but like July as an important date, maybe anniversary date or something like that. But I just feel like he's getting closer to you, and he's going to stay closer with you as you go through these next couple of years. I would say, you know, be sure and feel comfortable in relationships and things like that, because he's backing you 100%. You know, and no hardships or anything like that. He's, you know, any discomforts that he caused, he's apologetic about that. But of course, he didn't have the control over it. So
That was really interesting, guys. And I just want to hear real quickly from the studio audience. Give a clap if you got some really personally significant material. Okay, great. And I did too. So thank you very much. So Jacob, I want to hear from you. What do you tell people about what your dad does for a living?
Well, it's really hard to tell anyone because you don't know who's going to be accepting of it and who isn't. And I do tell people who I know really well, and on one occasion their parents found out, and then we couldn't be friends anymore.
Oh, that's really sad. So that's hard enough. That must be a little scary to have to discern. And so how comfortable do you feel telling people that about your own gifts?
Well,
do you kind of keep it quiet?
I do.
Yeah. Okay. Except for being on TV. It's very brave of you. It's very brave. I really appreciate that. So Ray, could you tell us real quickly, how do you identify a fraud?
Well, generally, number one, they're going to ask for too much money. They're going to tell you you're hexed or cursed, and that you have to pay them a fee to get the hex or curse off. You cannot be hexed or cursed, and nobody can get a bad energy away from you better than yourself. They'll ask you a lot of questions. Are you working right now? No? Oh, geez, I see I got all kinds of financial problems. You working right now? Yes. Oh, great. Finances coming your way. You're going to get a promotion next month. So a good psychic or a good spirit medium will not ask you questions. They'll tell you first. They'll give you the opportunity to ask questions. And most importantly, there's no such thing as a person that cannot be read. A lot of people go in and the reader doesn't have enough energy to be able to interpret the things that are going on. So I can't read you, I can't read you. And it has nothing to do with anything other than they're just not qualified.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you both for being here tonight. It's been a delight. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you, Ann Arbor, for joining us. Remember to tune in the 4th Tuesday of each month at 10:30 p.m. and look for rebroadcasts of Jeannie on the Beat at various times throughout the week. Ciao, Ann Arbor.